All right. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Citizen Council live stream. Happy Independence Day on Friday, but we can wish you a happy Independence Day early, can't we? All right. I am here with Brandi Martindale and Perry. How's it going, guys?
It's going great. How you guys doing?
Perry, you look great. You look like you're enjoying the day. That is awesome.
Super happy.
Look at that blue sky. Normally I try and get everybody's heads like in the same like pane, and I actually prefer the like full half blue sky in frame. I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Anyways, how's it been? We've been off air for a couple weeks. I had a wicked illness, but
You were super sick. I had some procedure stuff that had me looking crazy. So it was convenient I had to take a week off. It's a skin treatment for rosacea. When you have it done, you swell up really big and it just looks crazy. But people ask a lot of questions, but
what's the blueberry from Wizard of Oz? What's her name?
No.
The girl who like eats candy or something turns into a blueberry.
Yeah.
I don't know.
that was a wizard, Willy Wonka.
What did I say? Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Willy Wonka. Same thing, same difference.
Oompa Loompas. Yeah.
The same time period, you know.
Yeah.
Hi, Cheryl. Cheryl's watching.
Hi,
Thanks for watching.
Cheryl.
Oh, and the other Cheryl with a C.
Hello, other Cheryl.
So you corrected me. Thank you, Cheryl.
Yep, there we go.
Can always count on Cheryl. Is it Cheryl or Cheryl? Because now I'm confused. Violet.
Cheryl.
Violet is the blueberry lady.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. What was the COVID thing? Razor blade throat. I thought it was a joke
Yes.
when I found it on the internet, and I'm like, no, this is like literally what I have. I feel like I swallowed a razor blade for like the first week. I had no other symptoms but that, so I started looking up like throat cancer. I was like, man, I did too many burn piles this year, and I'm like, I've got tumors or something. And then I got hit with like all the other symptoms right when the razor blade thing went away. So a whole nother week.
I was becoming concerned about you.
Appreciate it. And actually, like, a lot of people reached out, and I appreciate that. I was not expecting that, and I felt like shit. I was like nothing in particular besides the first week with the throat thing, but then just no energy, and my heart rate is way higher than it should be. My age, I should be at like 180, 185 for a max heart rate. And like I went for a run today, like a jog, a very easy, slow jog. And I was at 178 for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes straight.
Wow.
Like no effort. That's not right. So my heart rate, and normally like my resting heart rate is 40 or 50, and I can't get it below like 70 or 80. So with my heart working like that, it's like, that's why I'm exhausted. But anyways,
yeah, this
has nothing to do with Coos County. What are we doing? Well, Perry, you're coming on for a crime update. What do you got for us?
Well, the campers are keeping things pretty busy. There was one on the end of Elrod that I had to show up a few times, and they finally decided to leave.
Like camping in a tent, not in an RV.
Yeah, illegal camping. There's plenty of spots to camp legally. There's no reason to do it in other places. They don't need their land destroyed.
That's always shocking to me, right? When they're like, well, where am I supposed to go? And it's like a campground. A campground is for camping. And they like, it just blows their mind. They don't get it.
Well, even the city ordinance. Camp downtown Coos Bay where you're supposed to. You know?
There's designated camping down in downtown Coos Bay?
Yeah, unfortunately. I don't like telling them that because it's like, it shouldn't be a thing. That's so dumb. It's ridiculous.
The more public we make these people, the better.
Yeah. I
That's
mean, maybe if
true.
you told
Keep
them
them from
like,
being able to hide in the woods.
we should just always tell them that camping is allowed, free camping under City Hall on the first level, always. Or the second level, or they have like it's even covered for most of it out there. They even have little tables and stuff. Just don't jump. Yeah.
I bet it would get some attention, you know?
Jeff saying it used to be called strep throat. Yes, I used to have that as a kid. That sucked. It might have been. I don't know. Strep throat, you lose your voice. I never lost my voice. It just like hurt. But anyways, Cheryl thinks you look cool, Perry. You look like you're straight out of the Matrix.
Mhm.
So Elrod's always an issue, and it drives me nuts because half of it's school district property, and it's the side they always seem to camp on because it's downhill, so it's easier.
I
What
think
else is
they're
going
doing
on?
better about not wanting people on the property though.
They must be. I've never seen anybody out there. Remember, like a year ago, there were people policing the private side of it,
Mhm.
and I never heard of that again because they were asking for help, and
Well, the
maybe they
good part
lost
is
funding.
if anybody sees them on school board property, they can call the police and it's an automatic trespass. They don't got to wait
Okay.
for permission or anything.
Hmm.
It's
That's good to
automatically-
know.
I will try that.
Do you think all of the attention that the homeless encampments have gotten over the past 6 months has helped decrease their boldness or their prolificness?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to know because you're playing what if games pretty much.
Herding cats.
I could say it is, and somebody could say it's not, and can't prove either way.
So I haven't been out much in weeks, but how is it like downtown Coos Bay versus Empire? Because I know it kind of like shifts sometimes, or like North Bend. Is North Bend having issues, or is it mainly still an Empire?
North Bend's having more issues than they normally do. You hear quite a bit on the scanner now. And of course the fires, that's still going on, and so that doubles up how much is on the scanner. Downtown, it depends on the night, really. Dallin and On's hanging out in a white van downtown now, and I heard that people were giving him water, and that's a joke. He's one of the worst criminals around.
Yeah, and he's always covered up.
Yep.
Yeah, he's always wearing masks and helmets and has chains and machetes and stuff hanging off of him all the time. Totally weird. Remember we ran into him in the Mingus Park that one time?
Yep.
And I was like, why you look like this? He's like, what's wrong with it? I'm like, you don't think that like you kind of terrorize people sometimes, like scare them, and they want to come out here and enjoy the park, and then they see you coming down a trail and they decide that they can't walk down that trail because he's like, well, that's their problem. It's like, okay, right. Like, but we live in a community, right? Like you care about other people, don't you? And he's like, no. He just didn't give a shit.
No.
The Spartans would have thrown him off a cliff.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the moment that you can openly say that you just, if the conversation happened the way that you portray it, where a person is just like, don't you care about other people? Like, if the answer is a real no, come
I
on,
might actually
man.
have that one on film. I know we were filming that day. I'm gonna
But they
look,
don't
'cause
care.
They don't.
They don't,
They prove it with their actions.
right?
Actually, that was, well, it was a different day, but it was in that couple week span. Remember, I interviewed the people under the pavilion, and the guy with the shopping cart was saying that like they don't care as long as they get there first thing in the morning, that they're allowed to have it all day long, and they do not care what other people want to use it for. It's like that I definitely put on the internet. That was on video for sure.
All because
And
it
then
said first come, first serve.
Yep, they pointed at the sign and it said first come first serve, so they thought that gave them free reign as long as they get there first in the morning.
Yep.
And so the city council, that was like the first thing I was like successful at. They took that sign down like right away. I was like, thank you. Like that was the
Oh,
least you could
yeah.
do. Now they ruined that whole area, but whatever. I guess we should be grateful. Um, yeah, and then the two guys flying the drone, and he was like, "Yeah, it's really funny when I fly it near dogs and they like freak out." And I'm like, "That's funny?"
Mm-hmm.
It's like, "Yeah, it's really funny." Okay, asshole.
Well, they were
Anyways,
sitting there getting drunk too.
yeah, they deny that, even though I have it on film. They were drinking and they had more in their bag, and I asked them if they were drinking. They were like, "Yeah," which like drink, I think everybody should be able to drink in the park. I think that'd be cool. But like if you're drunk flying a drone bothering people's dogs, totally different story. Anyways,
It all
friend
comes
of
down to
Sal's.
like when other people, have to deal with it. If you're minding your own business, mind your own, do what you want to a larger extent. But that's kind of the problem, isn't it? Is that these people get intoxicated or bone sober, and they just have to bother other people. They just can't leave people alone. And I have a special like disdain for people who just force themselves on other people.
We should be good neighbors, or at least
Yeah,
trying to
like,
be. Like
yeah, care
not
how you
outwardly
affect
trying not to
people.
be. you know?
Right.
Jeez.
Like there's always going to be disagreements and clashes but like try. Exactly. Decency and common sense. Just like stop being a
Uncommon sense.
narcissist. But until we as a society reject these people and treat them like the pieces of shit that they are, they're going to continue to use and abuse anybody they can.
But they won't quit. They have to stereotype, um, and they have to do all of that to make themselves feel better
Right.
because they're not
I haven't
helping
seen them in the
anybody.
park again though. Sorry. What was that?
Oh, because these people are not helping anybody by being ignorant or willfully ignorant to what's actually going on. There's not a single person that gets help.
Well, Cheryl says, I've noticed the police have been clearing out the Vega property daily. That's cool.
Nice.
We should go check that out this weekend.
Is
Yeah.
the Vega property in North Bend?
Yeah, it's the north side of Newmark where I guess it's Morrison, right? North
Yeah.
Morrison should be. But it's just all woods. And this guy named Robert Vega owns like acres back there, like a lot of land. It should be a development. I mean, it should be like 30 or 40 homes. And it's just a mess. It's bad. So a lot of the filming we've done has been back there.
I'm surprised neighbors don't sue these property owners. If you catch these people on camera coming in and out of this property and you catch them trespassing and stealing from you, you can totally sue the property owner in civil court. It's $50 to file a civil lawsuit. I don't know why more, and I know, Chris, you don't like the litigious avenue. My entire career has been working with lawyers in bankruptcy, with organizational development type stuff, but it is the way that stuff gets done. I think when people think of lawsuits, they think of like innocent people getting taken advantage of. But the reason that we have such a great country is largely because of lawsuits. Like you sue and you win rights and protections from people who genuinely, or you sue and you win medals back from men who stole them from women. Like lawsuits are the way we get things done in a civil way. Like they are the most civil way to handle conflicts. I'm just surprised that more people don't take that avenue in civil court.
Yeah, the city kind of talked about it. They've talked about kind of going after him for, I guess, like it not being sanitary or not having, I guess, just kind of like illegal camping. but I don't know where they're at with it. Every time you talk to them, you hear something different, and nothing ever changes.
There's
But
it's the land use ordinance. It would be under the assessors. I think it's under the planning department. I think it's under the planning department. So they have these civil codes for both city and county. And those codes can be amended. I believe, for the county commissioners handle that. For cities, I believe like the city councils would write those ordinances. But like they can assess fines to these property owners who are in violation of ordinance. I'm sure that's something that's available to them. I know for a fact that for Coos Bay, theft is on the specified crime property ordinance. For the county, it's not. But there's like all kinds of stuff
that's what they use to threaten the Devereaux Center. So I don't know why they haven't used it with this guy. I mean, it was almost 2 years ago that I walked that with the police chief and a sergeant. And it was probably a year before that it was so bad that they went in there with a bulldozer and just like knocked a bunch of trees over. And that actually worked for like a month until they went in and just cut them all up and moved them, burned them. So
right.
They being the bums. Well, Barry, you got anything else? Anything else going on the past week or so?
Not really. That couple that decided to do a burnout in a crime scene was kind of funny, but just entitled pricks being entitled pricks.
Oh, that was that lady that got a ticket or something? Okay.
Yeah, you get mad when they get a ticket.
What did they do exactly? Were they just trying to get around the police or something?
No, it was intentional. At first, they said that the people in the car were screaming at them, and the second time they talked about it, they said they were doing a burnout, and it was while they were investigating a possible stolen car. And these people obviously.
You know what we should start doing? Can we can request the body camera footage from police officers and start posting body cam video from these types of incidents?
That, from what I hear, that would be funny.
That would have been a good incident for it.
I have a I don't know what you'd call the individual, a connection who can kind of tell me exactly like time, date, like how to get in touch with the officers and know what time and date to request video from. And the officers will be, I have his name written down because there's specific officers that are liaisons for, or, they're assigned to like the homelessness issue. And they're very interested in releasing that body cam footage. And I just kind of that was a conversation from like 3 years ago, a while back that I had with Coos Bay PD, I believe. And they're really interested in releasing that footage. So
that would be a good one to get. And then apparently this other incident the other day would be pretty good to get. I know
can't believe
they're
I just
probably not going to release
those two
it.
Dots. No,
they're
they
probably
will.
not going to release
it
if it's going to. Well, no, if it's going to trial, like if the DA took it up, then it's property of the DA, and they're going to be buttholes about it. But that's my experience. But after it's been adjudicated,
we didn't talk about that. That didn't come up. He didn't mention any kind of like roadblocks to getting footage or anything like that. From the conversation I had, they were really eager to like get it out to the public. And he actually recommended to me a couple of YouTube people who have released body cam footage from like Portland and stuff like that, showing what they're going through up there.
That would be interesting. You'd see the entitlement there.
Let's do it. Put that on our to-do list.
Okay. I'll dig out my see if I can find the notes from the person I spoke to. I probably won't be able to find that stuff. It was a few years ago, and I like just made the connection right now of like, oh, that would be a good idea.
Well, I promised Rob that he would be on 5 minutes ago. And so he's sitting
Oh
patiently waiting.
no!
No
Oh
worries.
no!
It's just Rob.
Yeah.
He's, he's listening. So Perry, you're welcome to stay on if you want. We're talking about URA, urban renewal, and some transgendered stuff afterwards. So it's up to you.
All right. I'll get off of here.
You sure?
Yeah.
It's been pleasant hearing all the birds and seeing the blue sky. Appreciate it.
Enjoy your afternoon, Perry.
Oh, yeah. But
See you, man. All right. And next we have the nearly famous Rob Taylor from the Rob Taylor Report. How you doing, Rob?
Pretty good. I always want police video footage. Always. They should just have a continuous loop where every day when the police come in, it goes on to this playback where everyone can see it. This is Officer John's. This is his playback, and we all get to witness how fucked up. Oh, excuse my language. How
You're good.
screwed up it is out there and what these cops have to deal with.
Yep.
Because if people saw what these cops had to deal with, they would go, "Oh, sorry, never mind. Go right ahead. Yeah,
Yep.
pull out a baton, beat the crap
I think
out."
we should do the
Go ahead.
same thing with classrooms, Rob. I
Oh,
think all
classrooms, yes.
classrooms should be live streamed, and everybody should be able to watch a classroom at any time they'd like.
Just the
Body cam from
teacher.
a school bus.
Just have the teacher up front while she's teaching, and she has to be on screen, and you can't have any of the kids, but you have just the teacher. I've said that for years. Why don't we have that? And I mean, they want to know everything we're doing everywhere at any moment of the day. They've got cameras on buildings, on towers, on streetlights, and we don't have anything on them. Public offices should have them too. Mayors, commissioners, let's see the live feed.
That's a good idea. Having
We could run it
commissioners
through AI and
um,
get like flags when there's certain keywords mentioned, and then
Yeah.
we get like zoomed into a
that would be cool.
classroom.
Yeah.
I've always wondered why teachers aren't required to wear body cams and have them recording at all times while they're interacting with any student at any time.
This does
I
seem a
mean,
little crazy.
Yeah, I think we're pushing it, but in a more perfect world, we're
if
getting
so
it
many
more
teachers
well.
weren't like diddling kids, I probably
I
wouldn't
know
like.
that's the problem. Is you've got so many of them. It's hard to not justify this Orwellian idea that everyone should be watched at every moment of the day. But there are some positions in society where,
Government.
government, they're
Government.
making decisions for us. So I feel like I can watch my employees if they're at work. I don't have cameras, but you know what I mean? If I did, I feel like I'd be perfectly fine within my right to do that. So they're our employees. I'd like to be able to tune in, see what David Milliron is doing. David, get your hands out of your pants.
Right?
Get your hands out of your pants.
It is crazy though. Like the county commissioners, they're not even live streaming all their meetings anymore.
Right.
Like that, they only live stream their like bi-weekly Tuesday meeting, their
So
regular
weird.
commissioner meeting, and they claim budget, but it's the budget, even though they spend like upwards of $20,000 on various video conferencing systems for the whole county for all their offices, but they can't afford to do it, even though some of these are free. I mean, this one we're using costs
YouTube is free.
less than $100 a month. So, but I don't know. For SWAC though, they'd have to upgrade to the night vision cameras because Curtis Buell likes to turn the lights off and play hide and go seek when he molests his children in the classroom. So they'd have to have night vision cameras for that. If we're gonna
No
catch him. So
shit.
allegedly.
Allegedly.
He was only convicted of it by a court. By a jury of his peers.
No, you don't have to say allegedly anymore. Dude did it. He was convicted, went to prison for it. allegedly is for people who haven't been convicted of
you're
molesting their
right.
students.
Curtis Buell is not an alleged case. That's an actual reality. Yes,
Yep.
let's not forget that, because we do want to. I have to say that when I'm talking about politicians and calling them crooks, but
Aren't they all crooks?
they are
Allegedly.
allegedly.
Anyways,
You kind of have to be,
Karina
because
says,
it's a really crappy job. So if you're in it for a long term, you have to be in it for something nefarious, because it is an awful job, and they don't pay that well.
I'm so mad at the mayor. She was coming out of the grocery store, getting in her car, and I was flipping her off through her windshield, and she was flipping me off. Or no, she was waving at me, smiling, and I'm like, yeah, just because she did something really, really shitty just recently, and I'm just so mad at her. And people, they continue to like this. Shamhorn, yes. She's like 104.
Hasn't she been mayor for like 30 years?
Yeah, she's been, no, not quite that long. It's been since 2004, something like that. It's she's been there a long damn time, 20 years at least. And
Mayor of what?
Abandoned.
Seriously, wow.
Yeah.
I will say though, she came to one of the commissioner meetings and she agreed with me on the whole like defunding the jail stuff, and like that they need to work with the public and find a different solution because the levy is not going to do it.
Yeah.
So I must have had her on a good day.
Right. Sometimes
what's your beef with her, Rob?
Oh, she's the one who was sitting on the city council that decided to go along with the city manager, who was corrupt. And I can't say that because I sued him and I won in court. And this corrupt manager created a fake emergency that the city declared with their water agency so that they could break the city charter and increase our fees that were under the authority of the voters. And they had to go to the voters, and they knew that we weren't going to give them any more money. And so they violated their own charter, their own oath of office. They broke the law. I sued them, won in a court of law on a summary judgment. My lawyer didn't have to spend 1 second in the courtroom, and I won on a summary judgment. And to this day, I call her a crook because I legally can. There's no alleged about it. She's a crook. They're the people who are left on the city council who are still there. They're crooks. The city manager, he's been replaced 2 or 3 times since then. And it's something that really annoys me, because then she goes to the legislatures, specifically Anderson and Boomer Wright, and she asks them to pass a law getting rid of people's ability in cities to put things in their charter that allows the voter to have authority over the utility rates. So that law just passed, and so we got screwed twice.
Yeah.
And the first time I got vindication because I took her to court, and I may actually have a case right now against the state, because they may be in violation of their own home rule charter amendment for their constitution by passing this law. Because if they can do that with our charter on this issue, what can they not do it on? What can they not prevent people voting on? And that's, to me, goes against the total grain of the Oregon Constitution. So I may be in court again, and it's all due to that bitch, Mary Shamhorn, who, fuck you, Mary, I'm sorry, but damn, she just... And so, and she violated you people out there in Bandon, you keep voting for her. She violated your rights. And if I hadn't taken her to court, she would have gotten away with it. Clean and scot-free.
Crazy she's still mayor, but the legislature thing is wild. Is there an option for Coos County to do a home rule charter and solve that, like countywide, or does that not affect the cities?
I don't know how they could do it for the cities. The cities have their own sovereign laws and charters, which is a good thing. And
they would have to mirror it or something.
Yeah, so it would just there's just really no technical way to do it because the charter separates the county and the cities with the charter itself. That's why we're a home rule state. And of course, the Democrats vote for it because we got to kill democracy in the Democrat Party just as much as we got to kill republicanism in the Republican Party. It's amazing how these two work together to destroy each other.
I was listing new party names for a new party because I've thought about it before, and then Elon Musk has been talking about it, and I'm like, but we have to have a good name. It has to have a good name. It can't be like lame.
But it's okay. So devil's advocate here. It's been tried. What would
Oh, for
make
sure.
this time different?
Nothing.
Probably nothing, but it's probably worth it,
It feels
I
like a
don't know.
treadmill. Like
This
it
is where
makes
I'm
you feel
brain
like you're doing
exercise.
something, but it doesn't get you anywhere.
We either go no party at all, or we just figure out which party we belong to and let's battle it out. That's where we're at. And I mean, those libertarians and the Constitution Party, talk about a bunch of screwed up people. I mean, and I'm a libertarian at heart, and it's like these people. Believe me, the Greens aren't any better, or the Social Democrats. They're not going to get anywhere with these lame parties. So we either got to choose. Are we going to do parties or not? And I'm in the favor of let's just go and vote as individuals and screw the parties. Let people, if they want to associate
Ideally.
each other.
That's where I've landed.
Yeah.
But Elon's talking about the same thing that I've talked about, which is let's find something that can unite the middle 80% or 70% or whatever it is in the middle, right? Like leave out the extreme left and extreme right, find some common ground. That's one of my name ideas, the Common Ground Party, right? So, do you want to hear my other names? Maybe if you heard a good name, you'd be on board, Brandi. We've got the Common Ground Party, the Good Neighbor Party, the Common Party, the Sovereign Party, the Minimal Party, or the Populist Party. Take your pick.
Oh, God.
That's as far as I've got.
We're in trouble.
Some of those have connotations.
The Avengers. Is that name?
So some of those
Avengers.
conjure imagery
Party.
of 1965 China. Some of them sound a little.
I've got to run them through a what's it called? A focus group.
Yeah.
But the Common Ground Party, I think, really, because right, like let's find common ground. We don't have to have a platform that covers everything. Let's just find a platform that we can get 60 to 80% of the public to agree on is important, and then boom, then you've got it. You've got majority candidates there, super majority candidates, maybe in a lot of states, but right, like there has to be a platform that can be common ground and unite America. There has to be.
I'm still not done kicking the Republicans' butt, and I can't do that if I'm not a Republican. And that's the way it goes. And there's a lot of Republican ass that needs a good swift kick right where the sun don't shine, because these are not Republicans and they are not doing the right thing. They're immoral. It's unjust. I know I'm being mean. People go, "Oh, Rob, you're so mean." No, you know what's mean is denying people their ability to be part of a party that they registered for and were told that they were welcome and they were going to be listened to, and all of that was a lie. And that makes me mad because it's happening right here in my freaking county. We have a bunch of Nazis running our party. Literally, when the left calls me a fascist, no, I'll show you some fascists. Come to the party and I'll show you some people who want to shut down creativity, want to shut down ingenuity. These people have no sound morality. I mean, the way they are treating others is just a joke. I mean,
Can you pull up the Facebook post where they actually like wanted to have a conversation about how in a perfect world what their favorite flavor of bigotry would be? Discrimination.
That was a pretty weird post.
That was so gross. Like
Michael
in a perfect
Brainard
world,
is like,
who would you love to be able to discriminate against for
some
housing?
wires
Like
loose.
if you were a landlord,
I want to discriminate against Michael Brainard. And all the Michael Brainards out there, I want to discriminate against them.
It was so
Yeah.
gross because
was weird.
I live out
probably
here
still up.
really, really rural, and I bring my friends from New York City here, and my rural hillbilly Republican friends are wonderful to them, welcome them with open arms. And then this disgusting Republican Party leadership posts on Facebook, if you could discriminate against anyone in a perfect world, like in my perfect world, there would be no discrimination, you absolute scumbag. But
I
like
read
to
that
say
post like
that,
3 times, 4
me
times, 5
too.
What a
times. I'm
weird
like, what
question.
was the point of it? Like, I was trying to give somebody the benefit of the doubt and figure
I
it
was
out,
trying,
and
like,
I
am I
could not for the
reading this
life of me.
wrong? Am I
Is
understanding
is there an
this?
exercise to this? Yeah,
It's
I
just not
don't
Like,
see
normal.
it, but, it
Yeah.
it's
doesn't surprise
disgusting.
me. And
But
And
that's
you
that's not
Rob was talking about fascism, though. He's absolutely right. You're not even exaggerating, because I've always been confused why the left calls the right fascist. Because when I look at it, the left seems fascist to me. But it wasn't until I got further down the rabbit hole in the Republican Party leadership, especially locally, that I realized that's why. Because the left sees them as Republicans, and
Mhm,
they are legitimately fascist
mhm.
in every spirit of the word. So you know what?
That's
They're
what I
actually
saw
right.
when I attended the meeting. It was appalling. Just the incompetence itself was shocking, but the overtone of dictatorial control, authoritarian control was like
So
the
that's why the left
audacity.
does these protests. That's who they're protesting against. So that's
Yeah.
why if we have any chance of saving the conservative movement, we have to replace the leadership.
Yeah, this
Um,
was George
Awful.
Bush. When George Bush and the Bush family had their thumbs down on the National Republican Party, that's when I left, is because they were a bunch of control freaks. And I almost didn't vote for Reagan because of Bush. I did almost, I didn't vote for Bush either time. That's when I became a libertarian. I knew what a fascist freak he was. And I'm glad that the Republican Party has made somewhat of a redemption, but they're still in there. There's still these people who want to tell me and everyone else, oh, you can't smoke that. You can't say that. And don't look at any dirty pictures and go to church on Sunday. And by the way, we'll be in the whorehouses on Saturday telling you and lecturing you about everything you shouldn't do. And it's just infuriating. I hate that condescending. It reminds me of pious people who act like they're untouchable, and it's just infuriating. And and when they have a power structure like the representatives and the senators who are backing this nonsense, that's even more troublesome, because the word goes out, and you guys have probably had your reputation somewhat slandered in the last couple of months. And for me, it's been years. So I don't even have a reputation. I just go as a ghost anymore.
I think I've been able to kind of slip under the radar for the most part because I haven't been in a position to really like affect anyone, but I'm sure it's coming. I mean, I have one psychopath stalker, but like he is a psychopath stalker that like abuses a whole bunch of people. So I'm just one
I,
of many. I think
you're,
it's
you're not
probably coming
special.
for me,
But yeah,
right?
it's coming,
I'm just,
but it's coming
yeah,
for you. Yeah,
it
I
is.
agree
It
with you.
is. Yeah, it is. And I know what is going to provoke it, and we'll find out soon enough, but I know it's coming. And some of my friends and family have kind of said, like, are you ready for
Yeah.
terrible things? And the only thing, to be totally honest with you, I don't care what people say about me because I can back my shit up. Like, I know what I'm talking about. I know, and I lead with integrity, and so that's whatever, say whatever you want. When it comes down to it, my biggest fear is physical safety, if I'm being honest.
well,
Depending
allegedly, this
on
person, his flavor is young boys. So allegedly, so I don't think you have to
that
worry.
one,
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
worried about
okay. We're
that
talking about
one.
another one. There's more than one. Oh,
There's
geez.
I expect
There's a
that
list.
I'm kind of anticipating in the near future, that
No, I'm
I
talking
might
about
come
the
up.
political elite. You know, when you're okay, I've got a nickname, and I'm sure Chris probably has earned this nickname by now. I'll have to. I haven't been in the back office lately to talk to the commissioners, but I'm known as Rob fucking Taylor. Okay, this is what they call me, and it goes back to Melissa Cribbins and John Sweet years ago. I remember John Cribbins. He says, "You know, I'm not the one who came up with that name. I know, but you use it. You use it." And I laughed, and it's like, "Yeah, I know what you guys call me." And so I started signing in when I walked in as Rob effing Taylor. And it's
That's
funny.
awesome.
Sometimes they slip. It's Rob, and they'll look at me, and it's like,
Oh, that's
so
it's
that's part of
Rob
the
fucking
reason they don't
Taylor.
even have me sign in anymore, is because I just they go ahead.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
So you got to
I'm
know.
he who must not be named, I think.
Yeah, he
You
who
know,
must
it's just
not be
don't talk
named.
about that guy. If you summon
Who
him,
is that?
he'll
He who
appear.
must not be named. I
Don't say
like
his name.
None
He'll
of the
show up to a
local.
meeting.
Well, no, you've been thrown in there a few times,
Oh yeah. So I got to
but
get going soon. Can we talk about North Bend? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
You're good.
get
You're
in
good.
there, do
Let
it.
me bring
Yeah.
up your image here, and you can
oh my
explain
God,
your
this
graph
image.
for us.
Oh, okay.
Explain this, Rob.
Oh, no problem. The cost of basic services. This is everything that businesses or a taxing district would have to worry about: is inflation, payroll costs, population growth. When you have more people, you got to provide more services. And that's the red line at the top of this. That's the cost of basic services. Everything that everyone uses who lives in a city or a county. And then that black line at the very beginning that goes up to year zero, where it says urban renewal begins, that's the revenue for basic services. That's all the money that's paying for the red line when urban renewal comes in. And those basic services, like I said, rise every year with increased property tax assessments. When your property value increases, of course, the tax on that property increases. So it's a hand in hand effect. So then you have that flat outline, the black line, where the revenue is frozen in a district. In a taxing district, that flat line represents the frozen increment. That's where they get the term tax increment financing. And when urban renewal begins, property tax revenue for basic services no longer increases as costs continue to rise. So they still have to deal with inflation, payroll costs, population growth in a district, but they're not getting any more money because urban renewal came in and stopped that flow of money that should increase as all those other costs increase for a district. And so then you see that dotted line. That dotted line is the increasing property tax revenue that gets taken for decades. That's all the money that gets taken, and I'll go into the urban renewal debt that goes to pay the urban renewal debt. When they talk about $40 million debt that they want to do, it's like a charge card. They can go out and they don't have to spend the whole $40 million. They can do 10 million or 20 million or however until they get to that 40 million. And so that red ink right there, for decades, other tax revenue must replace what urban renewal has taken. Without new or higher taxes and or taxes, services must be cut. So that whole red ink there, that's the double tax that you have to pay, because the original tax that you paid, well, that's going to urban renewal once the urban renewal came in. And now you got to cover the actual cost for all the other developments, all the other people that are living on land that's not being paid for through property tax monies. And so now we're stuck paying for somebody else and paying double for what is lost to urban renewal. And I think it was
double. Is it you end up paying double for it? Have you mapped that out?
You've got to pay that at some point. You got to pay what is lost, because whatever the services they got to provide, somebody has to pay for it. So that when they don't have any money, what do? They raise our taxes.
Does it
the
end up
slope
being
on
a
that
double
graph,
cost?
yeah, the slope on that graph is actually accurate. Like the urban renewal like tax base doubles about every 20 years.
Okay.
So like if you're collecting, let's just say, a couple $1 million, like $2 million out of a tax base on year zero, then 20 years later, if the urban renewal agency is enacted 20 years after that, you're still collecting the same 2 million, trying to pay for services that now cost 4 million. And the other 2 million that you should have been getting, because now you should be collecting 4 million, you're giving that 2 million to this urban renewal agency that's
Right.
giving it out to
So
all these grants, these amazing grants. They just gave one to
can I
South
can
Coast
I
Hospice
ask
thrift
if I
store.
understand this correctly? So you're
Yep.
making this investment into an asset that you cannot make money off of in the same taxation way that you make money off of all the other properties. However, the public cost of maintaining that property goes up.
Mm-hmm. And
So
you're
the
paying for it because that
idea,
property isn't paying for tax. That
right?
property, the tax for that property, when urban renewal comes in, now goes to the urban renewal agency. All the increase after that, all the increment after that. And now we have to pay for the services that all those people demand for living in those houses that are
Sure.
now all that tax money is going to the urban renewal agency. And then what do they do with the urban renewal agencies? Well, they build things like police department, huge police departments, and they can't maintain these buildings. They can only develop the area around these buildings, and then they build the buildings, and somebody's got to pay for all the things that a building needs to exist and to function properly. Now we're paying for that. And because this money is, they look at it as free money, a lot of times they'll overbuild. This is what they've done in Bandon with their utility trucks. They've made this huge garage that I personally don't think they needed, and they overbuild. And I'll give you an example of that. The Coos Bay Information Tourist Center, which was developed with urban renewal money. It's a mausoleum. Have you seen that thing down there? I mean, they could have done that with a little kiosk. Okay. I'm sorry. I just think stuff like that is ridiculous. And now we
I
got
was
to
trying
pay.
to go to the bathroom there during one of those protests, and it was locked. It's like, what's
Yeah.
the point of this?
Well, they don't want, you have to go in
It's the
and
middle
ask
of the
for
day.
the key. Yeah. You have to go in and
Oh
ask for the
gosh.
key. And if they're not there, you can't use the restroom, because the bums used to sleep in there and do all kinds of horrible things in those bathrooms. And unfortunately, I witnessed some of those things. It was scary, very scary stuff going on at the information center.
Those
So
were
is the
during your undercover days.
justification that this let's say they get $40 million, right? And you spend this for, which shockingly $40 million is not a lot of money. Like
No,
they could get one big building out of that. But is there justification? We spend this $40 million and then we have some kind of social benefit, right? Like I remember the argument being, this housing will bring in workers,
Mhm.
will bring in economy,
Well,
right? So that was the justification.
well, here's my retort to anyone who says that. What makes anyone think that someone isn't going to come in and develop that property without our tax dollars? That's the question, when most of the area in the county is not an urban renewal area, and yet it's developing just as fast, and in some areas faster than the urban renewal area. So my question is if these urban renewal areas are in desired real estate property, then why are we helping people and giving rich developers money when there's probably developers out there who would do it anyway? And I would ask the city manager, David Milliron, I want you to show me the study or anything, but I want a study that shows that there was no way someone's going to come in and develop that property, because I know, and you know, that study does not exist. And yet you can't explain why it happens everywhere else.
Well, the annex building is what
That's what
you're
I've
talking
been told,
about, and
is that no
they did have
developers want it.
they had another bid on it.
They had
It was
another bid
higher.
on it. That was
It was
higher.
it was a nonprofit, so I think they were alleging that like it wouldn't have had a tax. It wouldn't have brought in taxes either, but like it doesn't matter. It was non-public. It was a
right.
non-public entity.
But the thing is that they're not going to pay tax on it either, because they're government,
Right.
and government doesn't pay taxes. So for them to call the pot black when they're just as guilty of not contributing to the services that they're going to use for that development, on top of using our money to do the development, and then we have to pay that double dip thing. Yeah, I'm telling you, we lay to let it sit and let's see what happens, because I don't want to give up $40 million, and they're going to give it to low income housing. So not only are we going to pay for the development, we are going to pay for the services that are provided. And then we're going to pay for the welfare of the people, the healthcare of the people, the education of the people, because these are low income people. So
I was told this was workforce housing, that you had to be employed to live in the unit that they want to build.
some were, some weren't. That was questionable.
Okay.
You also
Okay.
can't even believe everything they say for this
Right.
project, because
I'm
it
just,
keeps
I want to
changing,
play devil's
and they've
advocate
lied.
and kind of, yeah. We've
Well,
been,
they're
and we've
asking
been
for
bamboozled
$40 million
before.
for what they claim is a $19 million project as well.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think it's like 36 million, but it was close to $40 million for a $19 million project. And they're
Right.
not explaining what they're doing with the other large chunk of millions of dollars of revenue that should be going to places like the county jail, school
Right.
districts, fire districts, every other taxing district that they're pulling this money from, right? So like when they say like, why don't we have a county jail? Why don't we have the funding for the sheriff's office? It's not entirely because of urban renewal, but I believe there's 5 urban renewal districts in the county that all pull money away from the county general fund, and that money could be going to the jail, and it's not. And none of them contribute it back. Those urban renewal agencies could give grants back to the county sheriff to fund the jail and replace the money that they're losing, because the state does it with the school fund. I believe they do it with fire districts. They replace some of the money that they lose to urban renewal agencies. So these urban renewal agencies can totally do that for our sheriff, and they don't, because they're greedy.
And so they're going to go back to the school board of North Bend, because they only need 70% of the districts. There are 10 taxing overlapping districts that overlap the urban renewal. And those overlapping districts, they only need 70% approval from the boards of those districts. And with the school, they got it. So the county has voted no. They've already said no. They know they're going to get no again. And the county can't afford the $58,000, which I think was $60,000. And it seemed to keep going up every time I heard the number. So they're not even sure how much the county is going to lose, but they're going to go back to the school because they've changed the makeup of the board. They got rid of the 4 conservatives that we put on there and put 4 liberals on there. So now they're going to go back because they know they have the vote, and they're going to get this, because that's how politics works. And people who don't think that special elections mean anything, well, this is going to cost you $40 million in double taxes, Coos County, because we're
This
all
one meant a lot.
To the 76% of people that didn't cast a ballot, understand that you cast a ballot for a $40 million bill. Congratulations, you bought that.
Yep.
That's I mean, because if you don't
And the
vote,
city claimed they
you
weren't
still
doing this.
vote. You just vote to give your power to the people who do cast a ballot. So whether you vote or not, you voted.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
But wait, there's more. They're not just gonna hold a vote. They're gonna first train, I would say brainwash. They're going to train every city council and every commission and board member in the county about how this works. That,
And so
I would
and
say
so
it doesn't work, but they're going to show how it works.
Oh, of course, because this is gosh, I forget the name for it. But they have a way. Bureaucrats. This is political theater, and they have a way of getting the predetermined results that they know is they have to get to buy off people or indoctrinate people that this is a good idea. And Elaine Howard, I've known Elaine Howard for 20 years now. The only thing Elaine Howard does is go around from one urban renewal agency to another urban renewal agency, creating their plan and making a shitload of money off of us taxpayers. And I don't blame, and I think she's genius. I think it's just she found a niche where people needed an expert, and she's able to fluff all the figures and the presentation so that everyone thinks that this is a great idea to give politicians a stolen gift card, because that's what it is. It's stolen from the districts. It's a stolen gift card that she wants to give to these politicians. Yeah, and
But
it's
remember when
Okay,
I printed off her
dots
slides?
just connected for me.
Because David Milliron, he kept saying and Matt Hamilton, the city councilor for North Bend, they were like, you know, if you would just watch the presentation from the summer, you would understand. So I was like, all right, I'll watch it. I watched the whole presentation. I read the entire slideshow, and I saw something very different. So I printed it out and explained it to the school board who was voting on it. I gave it to them. I gave them a couple slides, and I've shown them on this show and explained it just a little differently from a different perspective, and it worked. So they used her own presentation against them, but it didn't work because, like Brandi just mentioned, we lost this election. They're having a new school board that will be brainwashed, or they already have made up their mind, who knows, and they're going to vote in urban renewal. They're going to vote in this massive increase. I think it's $11 million was their limit, and they're already over it. And then it would go up to 46 million. So it's a 34 million or 35 million increase.
Yeah,
it's wild.
It's wild.
At least that's what the last one was. Who knows what they'll ask for this
and
time?
who knows what the new presentation is going to be, because they're going to have a whole new thing. And that's why I asked Rod Taylor to bring in his own expert, or at least see if the county assessor is what his feelings on it is, because he loses money in his districts. You know what I mean? He's got to assess the property in those districts. He knows how much money urban renewal is taking out of.
That's a good question. That's a good idea. I actually am going to ask that exact question when I speak with him.
Yeah, and they have to get their own experts, because this is a biased person who profits off making these plans. It's not right. It's not moral. And I'm going to demand that the public have access to it. I've got to send that off to Milliron. I've got to tell them this is something we all should have access to. And I'm going to post it out everywhere. I think it's something that needs to go everywhere. I got this from Rod Taylor. It's public information. And so if we could get the assessor or someone like that to do some type of presentation of how much money we lost or will lose, I think people will come around to realizing this is not a game here.
If we had a treasurer with a bachelor's or master's degree instead of an associate's degree from an online university, maybe we could have somebody pull those figures and put them into a nice graph for everybody, or a table. Table might not be too much to ask from
someone. What if we ask her? Like, she might be able to do it and be willing to do it. She doesn't talk to me.
Yeah. Do you know how much the schools lost in Portland? Just in Portland in 2006 and 2007, $62 million. $62 million in 1 year came from the schools, and then that has to be replaced through this equalization process, and that money comes from the Common School Fund, which is under the Department of Land, state lands, because we're supposed to cut trees to fund the Common School Fund. But guess what? We don't do that anymore. So where do you think they're getting the money to replace that $62 million from this? Like I said, 2006 and 2007. I'm sure it's like triple that now. Where do you think they're getting the money to replace that if it's being taken?
Where's the Common Public Safety Fund? From the state to like an equalization formula that levels the playing field for counties like Curry and Douglas and Coos, who are suffering greatly because we don't have the tax base to pay for this influx of bullshit bumigration that's coming from Portland and Eugene and Salem that's destroying our cities.
I like that.
It's yeah.
Law Enforcement Equalization Fund. Yes, I like that. That's
what a concept.
Good idea. What a concept.
I'm making I got these little leaf-shaped Post-it notes.
Are those avocados or limes?
They're little like leaves. Yeah. So I'm making notes of stuff that I want to look up once we finish up here.
Well, guys, I got to get going. I'm starving, and I really enjoyed being on here. This is really cool. I appreciate seeing you guys, and thank you for letting me vent. I know it's not Friday, but I do like to rant pretty much every night of the week.
The Wednesday rant.
The Wednesday rant. So I'll see you guys later, okay?
Nice to see you, Rob. Take care.
Nice to see you all.
Thanks, man. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Probably too much information all at once, but
what was that last point he made?
the law enforcement equalization formula
Law Enforcement Equalization Fund.
fund. Yeah. It's crazy. They have it for fire districts and school districts and other things in the state. Colleges, the community college has one. But yeah, they don't. We're ruled by a platform, by a party that has a platform that does not include public safety or law enforcement anywhere in it. Look it up, people. Go type in Democrat Oregon Party platform and
Yeah.
look for it. It's not in there. And they only mention homelessness when they talk about like all the rights that homeless people have.
Right. No
All the things that they're
responsibilities.
allowed to do.
That's what's so crazy to me. Why are responsibilities not enshrined into our social doctrine? Why is it always about rights and never about responsibilities? And
It's crazy.
I grew up as a child who couldn't wait to pay taxes. I know that's weird, but like I wanted to be a grown up so bad. And I wanted to pay taxes. I wanted to be, I
Well,
wanted
you
to
want
be a
to be
part of
responsible.
the
That's
system.
probably what it was.
Yeah.
It was the feeling of
And
being responsible. Yeah.
yes, like used to be the kind of person that would buy city dog tags just for my dog just to make sure that the city got a little extra money. I
Yeah.
would buy
Yeah.
all
New
the
York came
extra
out a little bit
permits,
there.
a little
The
bit,
dog tags.
the dog tags. I would like just buy all the parking permits for all the recreational areas for the year, even if I didn't use them. I would always look for opportunities to give money to the system. And I want to say that our leaders, our political leaders, our contemporary leaders destroyed that in me.
Well,
I
because
now
you're
want to
not
keep
seeing the benefit from it. You're not
they've
seeing like,
squandered it.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
using it to create learned helplessness and an abdication of personal responsibility. It's immoral. And so, when I'm faced with I morally disagree with what they're doing with my money. They're hurting people. They're doing things that are bad for people. And it's just so sad that I started off as a person who just wanted to be a part of like the system, who wanted to kind of make society work and contribute to it. And they ruined that in me.
And now you ain't buying no fucking dog tags.
Now I'm not buying no fucking dog tags from any of you
Any of you guys.
rat bastards.
Oh my goodness. See what I missed these past couple weeks.
I
See what
know.
I missed. Well, I was going to talk about some other stuff, but I wanted to keep these shorter. So
I
I
think
think I'll
so
save
too.
it for another week. This has been cool.
It's
You
just
got
been
anything?
awesome. I do not. Next week, I will probably have some stuff. I've got some meetings and I've got some stuff that I'm kind of sitting on for a little bit. So I know over the last 3 weeks, I've spent my time kind of putting a whole bunch of stuff together that is not quite ready yet, but I've got some stuff to explore if you're into it. So we'll shoot some ideas back and forth.
For sure. I was telling you before the show, I want to try and have these more like segmented. So like
Yeah.
15-minute segments or something, 20 minutes.
Topical
maybe give one-
segments.
Yeah. Or I was watching Jerry Springer, sorry. But do you remember he does the at the end of the show, he does like Jerry's thoughts.
Yes.
Like, I was like, I should spend some time and do like a thought, and end of the air thought,
What is
I don't have
it?
anything
Take care
this
of
time.
yourself and each other.
Yes. Yes. I almost was on the Jerry show once. I was in it's not Providence, Rhode Island, but it's near there in like Connecticut or something. I was nearby and I tried to get tickets for the show, but he was off air that week. Punk was on vacation.
Me and
Missed
my friends tried to
opportunities
get
in
on
life.
Jerry Springer when I was working for the Marine Corps. I lived on base, and me and some of my Marine friends tried to get on Jerry Springer.
That would have
Like
been
totally
awesome.
like fake for fake. We made up a whole story about a love triangle, so it was totally made up. But I think they sniffed out our. I think
like
they
you were
didn't
gonna
want
be
us because of the.
on the show. I just wanted to be in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
audience
yeah.
and get the Jerry
No,
beans.
we wanted to go on. But I think it was like a
Oh,
thing where
man.
because they were active duty military, they wouldn't let us. But it was
That's
me and my
funny.
2 roommates. I lived with a couple of Marines in my early 20s, and we all wanted to go on the show and fake a love triangle. Because I think you get like 10 grand each or something, or
I'm
5
sure
grand each, or
90% of that stuff is fake. Yeah,
It, yeah.
just a
Well,
little bit.
take care of yourselves and each other.
And each other. Happy 4th of July, people. Happy Independence Day. Stay safe. We'll see you next
Take
week.
care, everybody.